What do your dogs think, Larissa?
They've been such headaches. It's just, I have one that wants to run throughout the snow, and I'm chasing her and slipping and looking crazy. And then the other one that refuses to go out. So it's been very interesting.
Good morning, everyone. I am just admitting people into the meeting, so just bear with me. Give me one moment. We are live on YouTube. All right, Dr. Lee, if you would like me to go ahead and get started, I
Mhm.
can do so. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our virtual February 2nd, 2026 work session meeting. I will go ahead and call roll of the Board of County Commissioners. We do have Chair Dr. Mike Lee,
I'm present.
Commissioner Michelle Burton,
Present.
Commissioner Wendy Jacobs,
Here.
and Commissioner Stephen Valentine.
Present.
We also have present our County Attorney Larissa Williamson and our County Manager Claudia Hager.
Morning.
All right. And we are still waiting for Vice Chair Netta Alam to join. Once she joins, I'll go ahead and admit her into the meeting. Dr. Lee, I will like to add that as of now, we do have 4 of our speakers on the line. And
Okay.
whenever you're ready, I can either call their names or I can let you do so.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna still do the public charge and the land acknowledgement, and then we'll move right into the citizens' comments. Okay. And so the Board of Commissioners. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everyone to our virtual meeting. We felt it was necessary to continue to meet, even though we had this storm. So we appreciate you joining us and look forward to the information that's presented in this meeting. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and residents to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow residents. At any time, should any member of the board or resident fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. I'll now read the land acknowledgement. Since we're virtual, I'll just do both. As we convene for the Durham County Commissioners meeting, it is crucial to recognize the painful truth of history. We stand on the stolen ancestral lands of the Catawba, Eno, and Occaneechi, and Shikori, and Tuscarora peoples, whose deep connection to this land predates our arrival. We acknowledge with humility the unjust displacement and violence that occurred, leading to the dispossession of indigenous peoples from their homelands. Their resilience in the face of such adversity is a testament to their strength and spirit. May we humbly honor our ancestors and elders of these nations, both past and present, by committing ourselves to fostering understanding, healing, and justice for all who inhabit this land. Let us walk forward together with open hearts, acknowledging the past and embracing a future guided by compassion, respect, and unity. The first item on our agenda today is citizens' comments. We have 4 um, comments, 4 speakers, as Clerk Wallace previously mentioned. And I'll have Clerk Wallace announce those. You will have 3 minutes to speak. At that point, you will be put back on mute.
Good morning. We are going to start with Ms. Pamela Andrews, and I have asked that you unmute yourself. I will start the timer at 3 minutes, and it should make a noise when that 3 minutes is up.
Can you hear me now, Monica?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good morning, Chair Lee, County Commissioners, Ms. Hager, and staff. I want to make a few quick statements this morning concerning annexations in the county. 3 more parcels totaling 188 acres are up for annexation requests at the Planning Commission on February the 10th. 1 parcel is outside the urban growth boundary, 4802 Cheek Road. Another parcel is in the future growth area called Patterson Hall, and 1 parcel is on Burton Road, which has had multiple new developments recently. Again, 4802 Cheek Road, which is a 69-acre lot, is outside the urban growth boundary, which violates policy. Land adjacent to this parcel is noted as future growth area due to fire service needs and upgrade to the sewer capacity at the Fletcher's Chapel pump station. Policy 122 of the Comprehensive Plan states that future growth areas are where infrastructure and service upgrades were needed. These areas require public infrastructure and services before the parcel is annexed into the city. This is the case for Patterson Hall, located on Patterson Road near Stallings Road. Patterson Road and Stallings Road both are in need of new sewer services, as well as all of southeast Durham, including Fletcher's Chapel, Stallings, and Patterson, was indicated as needing fire services. There are 68 subdivisions under construction or built out in the last 4 years in southeast Durham alone. At what point are we putting citizens' lives in jeopardy by annexing more areas of land in an area noted for specifically needing fire services? A future growth area on Kemp Road was annexed in 2023 in a controversial vote. A new fire station was promised, yet nothing. Another 7,614 new residential units have been approved since then. We cannot continue to annex in an area that is noted in the comprehensive plan as needing fire services. We also know EMS's ability to handle all these new cases has not been thoroughly analyzed as Policy 119 required, which stated we were to ensure new development within the urban growth boundary or within the established level of service for emergency services, including fire, EMS, police, and community safety. We need your leadership. Southeast Durham's population already will exceed 52,000 people, with an additional 160,495 vehicle trips per day and growing every day. We need emergency infrastructure in place before any more dwellings are passed. Please note that the fire stations 8 and 17, which are city, are being really strained. Those officers, firemen, tell me frequently how strained they are. Plus, we lost the ladder truck. Ladder 17 was moved to another location, which is needed. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have Ms. Wanda Allen. And you have been asked to unmute yourself as well.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is Wanda Allen, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I trust that you were able to see the slide that was sent in to you. Please focus on that slide. This single slide summarizes 4 separate development parcels in southeast Durham. Together, they exceed over 200 acres, 206 acres, which are all within close proximity, very close together. These are not isolated cases. All 4 parcels share the same unresolved deficiency, which is clearly marked on the table. One project already has been approved by the City Council, and 3 more are scheduled for vote on February 10. The 4802 Cheek Road is outside the urban growth boundary. As clearly marked on the chart, fire, EMS, and public safety. None of these projects include adequate fire and EMS capabilities analysis. Some of these areas have previously been identified as unstable for development due to emergency services limitations. For an example, Patterson Road, also Burton Road. Despite this development continues, shifting risks to the county emergency response and residents. The environmental impact. All four parcels include environmental limitations, including streams, floodplains, wetlands, steep slopes, and emerging soil, or soil that just flows directly like Triassic Basin soil. Minimum compliance is being used where great protection is warranted, creating long-term risk for water in our wells. One area that I am particularly concerned about is these parcels are all surrounded by agricultural operations. They're working today farms. They include voluntary agriculture and present use farms. Continued development is creating conflict with farm equipment, tractors, and harvest operations. Farmers have raised the health and safety concern about moving equipment and getting hay and crops in and out of these congested rural areas. We as farmers spoke to the city council on Stagebrook, and they basically did not consider it as a problem. Over the last 2 years, Southeast Durham has added more than 52,000 residents. We need for you guys to be involved in this decision. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Miss Betty Hamilton. And you have been asked to unmute.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. You can go ahead and start.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I wanted to let you know that I am a neighbor of 4802 Cheek Road, about a half a mile through the field. And I wanted to let you know that I have helped get some coordination going for a community meeting so our community members could come together and express their concerns about 4802 being developed. On the last one, we had 43 participants, and no one, all of them, were against this project. We don't see benefits to our community. We see that it is taking in land, and we think that it is not something that is coming to us, but it's benefiting the city of Durham. It does not fit into our rural setting. We were told by the developer that a geotechnical report came back and that blasting was possible. This will affect our wells and septic tanks. One of the community members had blasting near his home, and it caused his septic to collapse. No one has fixed it or offered to compensate him. We're also concerned about traffic. This project will increase traffic for Cheek Road, Patterson Road, Fletcher's Chapel Road, Stalin Roads, that all feed into Highway 98. And according to the developer, this particular project and some of the others do not meet the threshold for any sort of traffic studies, but they're being approved individually. We're asking you to be our voice, to speak up for us so that we can have an opportunity to have these studies done, to see what's going on, to provide for the EMS and the fire. There's a Catholic school in Patterson Hall going on south of me. There's Cheek Road going on north of me and west of me. We just had Sagebrook approved. We would like you to look at what has already been approved and to try and think of it as what is it doing to our community. I appreciate your time, and thank you for letting me speak.
And lastly, we have Miss Donna Stanback. Miss Stanback, before you speak, can you confirm if your husband will be speaking with you as well?
Yes, he will, but
Okay.
he's right here using the same connection.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. We'll go ahead and get started with your 3 minutes, and then once that's up, we'll start with him. If he can just state his name as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, County Commissioners and County Manager. My name's Donna Steinbach. I'm concerned. I was going to give a little bit more detail about this project being outside the urban growth boundary. It does not show any benefit to the community, which is one of the requirements for that. And the policies 167, 168, and 118 were ruled not consistent by the planning staff. And it wasn't represented on the draft 2025 evaluation and assessment review as one of the possible annexations. There were other annexations to the UGB that were mentioned, but this was not. So it does not appear to be recommended. The area is not prepared for such a change to the county and city boundaries regarding the infrastructure and safety. And this proposal represents urban sprawl rather than orderly growth. Next, I'd like to speak to the non-contiguous part of the project. It is non-contiguous by the state law, GS 160A-51.1, and even by Durham's definition, which says that sometimes referred to as a satellite required for annexation of a property that does not abut the city's primary corporate limits. Property, this is a key point, that abuts satellite areas annexed into the city of Durham are not themselves contiguous. They are also deemed non-contiguous annexations by state statutes. That is the definition. But unfortunately, in the comprehensive plan consistency report, they stated it was contiguous by it being up against the Fletcher's Mill property, but that's not correct according to the state law and even the city of Durham's definition. This annexation would increase the hope for, a satellite. This site is not even adjacent to Fletcher's Mill. There will not be any cars that can go through it. It's only adjacent by like 400 feet, 1/25th of the boundary of this project. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started. Your 3 minutes has started, Mr. Steinbach.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of y'all today. My name is Kerry Steinbach, and I live on Jimmy Rogers Road. I am within about a mile of this project that is proposed. I am a retired agriculture teacher and environmental studies teacher. My concern, of course, with this is a rural and agricultural neighborhood. It has always been. That is what it's based on. My property is actually in the voluntary agricultural district because I know the advantages and the need to keep this land in agricultural use. This project does not fit this community. This community, as I said, has over 28 of the present use value farms, 9 voluntary agricultural districts, and is also, this project is in an area that is going to highly impact the floodplains, the wetlands, and this has over 6 designated streams already that feed directly into Lick Creek and then into Falls Lake. We're already having massive problems with pollution, sedimentation, and all running into that. And of course, open development like this where they just strip everything down and then of course they do not contain all the settlement going is going to have massive effects on the environmental part of this community. This is not a development that is going to add to this community. This community does not need more housing. As is previously spoken to, this community is already saturated with tons of new development and a lot of it not even yet in use. Empty buildings sitting there with nobody in them. Yet they want to add more to this, which is going to bring more problems to our environment, to our traffic. Cheek Road is a major artery coming in from Granville County for those going into Research Triangle Park. Burton Road is also a major artery coming in. We're already seeing the problems with traffic developing in this area, and there has been nothing to do with the infrastructure. There is nothing in here within a 15-minute walk to get to anything like stores, shops, businesses. There are absolutely no sidewalks in the area. There have been no widening to the roads. There's been no improvement in this. We are not near any transit zones, over 4.8 miles to the transit zone, not near any businesses or schools within 5 miles of here. The nearest grocery store is almost 5 miles away. So it's nothing that is accessible unless you get in a car and drive to it. That adds that many more trips to the road every day in an already congested community. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lee, that concludes those that were signed up to speak for this morning's citizen comments. I would like to just acknowledge that we have Vice Chair Netta Alam has joined, and if I can get a quick attendance from her.
Present. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for speaking. I appreciate that. Your concerns have been heard, and we will see how we address that. We have two of our commissioners who would like to speak. Wendy, Commissioner Jacobs had her hand up first, and then Commissioner Burton had her hand up second. So I'll go with Commissioner Jacobs first, and then Commissioner Burton. I'll allow you to speak after that.
Thank you, Chair Lee. I just had a follow-up question for staff. Number one, if you could confirm with the planning department that 4802 Cheek Road will be coming before us for presentation and also input. If that project is located outside of the urban growth boundary, it is supposed to come before our board for official input. And the second thing is, could you also, Madam Manager, make sure that the EMS service capacity is part of the staff reports for all of those projects, because we've seen a problem with that not being included in the assessment of access to services. And that is a county provided service, and I want to make sure that that is included in any of the staff reports. Thank you.
Thank you. We will follow up on both of those items.
Commissioner Burton.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Actually, I had the same question that Commissioner Jacobs had. I wanted to know, because I live in that part of the county that the speakers were talking about. Is this development, all of it inside the urban growth boundary, or is it that 4802 Cheek Road, that one specific part? And then also wondering about how are we as a county planning for EMS? So Commissioner Jacobs already addressed it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And staff has taken note. The next item on our agenda, I'm sorry, Commissioner Alam.
Sorry, Chair Dr. Lee, to just add on to the last request of Commissioner Burton, wondering also, I know I've requested this a couple of times, but wondering if the planning staff have gotten like that data together about our population growth mapped to
our investment in EMS, fire, school seats, like all of the public services and goods that we as a county and city provide, to see at what rate are we growing and at what rate are our services keeping up with that growth.
We will follow up with the planning staff on that information. I do know they've do capture that, so we will plan for a conversation with them in a work session so that we can have that conversation with the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or discussion from commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Our next item on our agenda is a little bit different. This is a work session. However, as you all know, our regular meeting for last week was canceled due to ice. No, due to an ice storm. Okay, and so those items that were on the consent agenda, well, some of the items that were on the consent agenda for our regular work session have been moved to our regular meeting has been moved to our work session today. Since it's a work session, we generally don't take action. However, what the staff has asked is that we suspend our rules and approve the consent agenda from our work session. I'm sorry, our regular meeting on January 26th, so that those items can go ahead and move forward. We do have another section after this, which is our consent agenda items for our work session today. So first, I'll accept the motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we suspend the rules. I will do, Clerk Wallace, do you do a roll call for?
Yes, sir. I can do a roll
Okay.
call. Mhm.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. We suspend the rules. Clerk Wallace?
All right, we have Vice Chair Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Valentine.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously. The second part of this motion would be a motion to approve the consent agenda from January 26, 2026 regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Our motion has been properly moved and seconded. Clerk Wallace?
All right, we have Vice Chair Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Dr. Lee,
Aye.
and Commissioner Valentine.
Aye.
Okay, the consent agenda passes unanimously. And that concludes the suspension of the rules. Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Dr. Mike Lee, Chair Lee.
You don't have to add all of that. You just say.
Anyway, I just wanted to note two very exciting items on the agenda that we just passed. One is the contract with DFI and the county, and also really our partnership with Durham Public Schools, looking at the Lowe's Grove property. I think this is very exciting. So I just want to note that, and I want to thank our county staff for taking the lead on this, but really important work around the use of public land for public benefits. And the second is the contract for the pilot for our day center, that just how significant, again, this is made possible by our staff. Really very detailed scope of work, and I hope will lay the foundation for future investments. I know we're going to hear more about our homeless strategic plan, but this was identified as an important need in our community through the Housing Task Force pre-shelter subcommittee, which I served on as a great need in our community. So just want to acknowledge this exciting moment. Thank you, everyone, for making it possible.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from commissioners? Okay, our next item on our agenda is the consent agenda for this work session. Manager Hager.
All right, good morning, commissioners. I trust you are well. And I will read the consent items. And if you have questions, please raise your hand and I will follow up at that time. The first item is 260022. This is an approval of a capital project amendment appropriating $1.5 million of debt service fund balance to the PayGo Fund to support the construction of a new radio tower and the purchase of mobile radios in the multi-department radios and tower capital project. Okay. The next item is 260025. This is an approval of capital project amendment 15 and the budget ordinance amendment 47, reducing the open space and farmland preservation capital project by $104,600, transferring that same amount to the general fund to support the purchase of Ken Wolf's farm conservation easement. The next one is 260029. This is an approval of budget ordinance amendment number 26 BCC 049, appropriating $118,780.37 of general fund balance to pay for OES fleet facility rent. Okay, the next one is 260035. This is the approval of a capital project amendment totaling $10.6 million of limited obligation bond funding to support the EMS Station 19 co-location capital project, as well as approve the proposed interlocal agreement and joint use agreement with the City of Durham for the new Station 19 co-located public safety facility located at 31 Davis Drive. Okay, the next one is 2640. It's the approval of to execute a contract with Autotech Solutions, doing business as Universal Distribution Group in the amount of $143,624.94 for automotive vehicle lifts and supporting equipment for the new Office of Emergency Services Fleet Maintenance Facility. The next one is 260041. This is an approval of Capital Project Amendment 17 and Budget Ordinance Amendment 51, reducing the open space and farmland preservation capital project by $510,000 and transferring the funding to a general fund to support Triangle Land Conservation's purchase and protection of 77 acres and conveyance of 15 acres to Durham County. The next one is approval of Budget Ordinance Amendment 53, recognizing the receipt of $571,000 from the Army National Guard as a pass-through funding for the Triangle Land acquisition and protection of 50 acres at 5017 Dunwoody Road. The next one is 260043. This is to approve Durham County Matching Grants Program recipients for fiscal year 25-26 grant cycle in the amount of $100,000. And I see a hand, Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes, thank you. Really great to see, as always, the projects that have applied and been approved. And I just wanted to note, I really jumped out how most of them are actually providing way beyond a 50% match. I think my question was, can we get from, I guess, staff or DOST, the, a list of, who were all the applicants that applied and what was the amount? We usually get that. Because my concern is I want to make sure that we are meeting the need. We have periodically increased the funding for this program over time, and I would also be interested in when was the last time we increased the amount. I just want to make sure that we're meeting the need in the community. This program really gives a bang for our buck. And you can also see that the geographic distribution. As we approach this budget season, I just want to make sure that we are keeping in line with what the need is in the community. So those were my requests for some follow-up information. Thank you.
Great. And we will follow up with those specific areas. And I know Brendan is on the call, but I know he's made note, so that we'll get that to you soon. The next one is 260047. This is an approval of budget ordinance amendment number 54 for a transfer of $167,418 from the general government functional area to the economic and physical development functional area for a mid-year FTE reallocation. The next one, which is our last consent item, is 260050. This is an approval of fiscal year Q3 Durham Annual Transit Work Plan, Work Program Amendment in the amount of $200,758. And this concludes our consent agenda items.
Commissioner Burton.
Yes, thank you, Manager Hager. And I just want to say, I'm glad that Durham County is making an effort with these conservation easements. It was really good to see that, that's a focus of ours, especially after hearing from the residents from southeastern Durham County about all the development that's going on, and that we're trying to make an effort to conserve real life in our county, real land in our county. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Valentine.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I actually had some comments previously, but could not find that feature to raise my hand. But I just wanted to see if it was appropriate to outline the matching grant recipients. I know we had sort of passed that already, but would that be appropriate? I think that'd be good information for our residents to know.
And Brandon is on the line and can go into that in more detail. Let's see. I can pull up my information as well. Now, Monica, will Brendan be able to, do we have to do a step for him to?
I'm trying to locate his name, Manager Hager.
Okay, sure. Let me see.
Because I don't see, you said Brendan?
Yes. And I thought I saw him.
Moore?
Yes.
No, ma'am. I think he has left the meeting. He probably logged off afterwards because we had passed the item. So
okay, no problem.
He's in the waiting room right now.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay. All right, great.
Give me 1 second and I will, there we go. He has been there we go. Brendan, you can speak. I believe you're unmuted.
I had dropped off. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, Brendan. Commissioner Valentine desires just to hear a high-level overview on the recipients of the open space grants. If you could just share some highlights.
For this year's cycle, I will say we had which was not funded because it did not meet the program guidelines for its ability to be open to the public. We had 5 projects recommended for funding. One was a first-time applicant, was Stagville, applied for a grant this year as part of a larger renovation. They're going to be using the funding to do some build some natural trails, surface trails through the property. In 1 second, I had closed out my form, unfortunately. We had Unique Places to Save, which owns a property on Massey Chapel Road adjacent to the American Tobacco Trail, where they're going to be developing a new park access, as well as having some natural surface trails and having a bike repair station, which I think is a really neat facility they're going to add right there next to the tobacco trail. We had El Futuro is going to have their phase 3 of their playground and open space next to their property, which is going to include a musical playground. They want to be putting in a lot of a large sort of play space with lots of different music instruments that are designed to withstand the elements outside. Then we had Urban Community Agronomics as a grant to help with their construction of their Welcome Center, which is going to include an area for a toddler play place, as well as some other information to kind of outline the work they've been doing up there at their Catawba Trail Farm, which is an amazing facility if you have not had a chance to be there. And then the final one this year is Central Park School for Children. Is going to be, they have recently acquired the old Trosa building on the opposite side of the old North Durham Park, and it's now their middle school building. So they're going to be renovating the hillside behind that building into a play space as well. And it's going to incorporate parts of the city park as well there. And those are the 5 grants. We did have a total request this year of $212,000 in funding. We were able to, the committee worked to try to make sure that we were able to at least partially fund the grants as well. Stagville, as a first-time applicant, they were awarded the full amount for their grant. The rest of them all received about 40% of what they had asked for this year to get us down to that $100,000 figure. But this would be the second year in a row we've had over $100,000 in requests. It varies from year to year depending on who applies, but in recent years we have been receiving larger requests than we have in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for that summary. And I want to acknowledge that, in fact, that information is available in our packet of information, but in situations where it's not apparent to me that everyone who's viewing would have access to that information, hears from us about where that money or how that money is being spent. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners or questions? All righty. Moving along here. So our next item on our agenda are discussion items. We have about 125 minutes allocated for this. For those who are presenting, please note your time. I will note your time as well. We want to try to stay as close as we can to that time. Okay, we just want to be able to do that. So the first item on our agenda for discussion items is update presentation on the 911 consolidation and heart expansion feasibility study. We have 45 minutes allotted for that. Manager Hager, did you want to start out with that and then pass it along, or?
Sure, I will actually pass it off to staff. We have had conversations about this consolidation and feasibility study with the board. a couple of times, and we have moved along in process, and grateful for the efforts by the consultant who is helping to guide this work, and the engineering team who are also co-facilitators, as well as other partners that are throughout the county and city of Durham staff. So I will transition to Perry and others to kick us off. We have the project manager, Dan Oshbush, and environmental engineering services, also Perry Manns, and also Sherry Bush, vice president with ADC engineering.
Thank you, Manager Hager. So good morning, commissioners. In response to your request at our November 2025 regular session approval of the contract with AdCom Engineering for the Durham 911 Consolidation and Heart Expansion Study, we felt it appropriate to get before you to give you an update on the status of things and sort of a process overview. And also give you an opportunity to have dialogue with our consultant regarding this study. And so, again, as the manager mentioned, this effort is being facilitated by Dan Nosbush. And of course, second, I'm backing him up on this, as long with the long list of other stakeholders that you'll see throughout the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Sherry. And Sherry, if you have others on your team, you're certainly welcome to introduce them. So thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Perry. Good morning, County Commissioners, County Manager, and staff. It's just me from AdCom this morning, and we have prepared a presentation, which I believe is in your packet, that hopefully answers your questions, but I'm here to answer and have any other discussion that you might have. If we could advance the slide. So our agenda, really quick, is what is the purpose of contacts, an overview, the update, key focus areas that we know are your priorities, an explanation of the timeline and next steps, and then we'll open up for questions and discussion. Advance the slide, please. So why we're here, we want to provide a status update on this study. And the consolidation study, while we call it that as a lump statement, it does include the expansion of HART as a parallel effort. We're going to summarize the work that we've completed to date, provide some preview of the upcoming activities, answer your questions that were raised during your contract approval discussion to make sure we're specifically answering those, and then of course answer any new ones you have. Confirm your priorities are being incorporated in the study, and who are we? Who is AdCom and why we were selected to do this work? Just to iterate here that this is a progress and process update and not a decision briefing. Advance the slide, please. This is a quick picture of who we are. This is not the entire team, but this is our core team of subject matter experts and engineers. We're a small business, woman, veteran, and minority-owned business. And we're proud to be a client advocate, and we're vendor agnostic. So any sort of solutions that we provide are not based on any outside relationships. Advance the slide, please. Who I am as far as credentials for leading this project. I've been in this business of critical control rooms in local government and state government as far as legislation and strategic planning for decades. I know I don't sound that old, but I am. So I'm also very much involved in multiple organizations on a national level that really speak to the development of best practices and standards in these arenas as well. Advance the slide, please. The team that's supporting this project includes our owner, Susan Ronning, who's a radio engineer by trade, but certainly understands critical communications as a whole. She actually was on site with us the first week that we were here. And then I have a collection of subject matter experts in different areas that are of support to what we're studying here, to include Joe Thomas, who's a former emergency services director for this in the state of Delaware, who contributed to legislative language that helped them create and expand mental health programs that coincide with critical control rooms and 911 responses in Delaware. Thank you. Advance the slide, please. So why were we chosen? We believe it's because of our background with city and county multi-jurisdictional 911 consolidation studies, regional and countywide dispatch system assessments, integration of mental health response programs with 911 operations similar to HEART, and backup and continuity planning. And our approach, while it's typical in collection of information and applying the best practice and national standards, we do something unique. We apply systems engineering based analysis to the findings and the discovery results to come up with the findings and recommendations that can help you form decisions that you're comfortable with. And we have a strong focus on governance, cost modeling, transition planning, and risk. Advance the slide, please. So what are we studying here? The potential consolidation of the city's 911 operation called DECC and the Durham County Sheriff's Office dispatch operations. Parallel to that, but not dependent on that, is looking at the expansion of the HEART mental health response program from a city-based program to a potential county-wide service and what that might look like and what that would need to be successful. There is an alignment of consolidation, potential consolidation in the HEART decisions when it comes to continuity planning, including backup capabilities at the planned emergency operations center, as well as what would it look like should there be a potential consolidation. And the objective here is to give you options, and they're supported by what we find operationally, financially, from governance and implementation analysis. So not only is it feasible, most things can be found to be feasible, but is it practical? Will it make sense? Is it doable for the county and the city to embark on one or both of these paths? Advance the slide, please. So where we are in the study, our current phase is the discovery and current state assessment. So the project's currently completing tasks 1 and 2, which is initiation and stakeholder engagement, and the current state documentation analysis. So at this stage, there's no recommendations yet to be made or decisions being proposed, and the focus is on building a complete and accurate baseline. Advance the slide, please. So the survey and request for information survey was very extensive. We use a program called Smartsheet, which is a data collaboration platform. And each of the agencies were surveyed either in depth, as in the 911 centers, where we were asking for tons of data and information, or it was very brief, as in the response agencies, for their piece of it from a technical perspective. So we were collecting information like call volumes and workload, demographics and staffing, and certainly inventorying their technology. We also had a request for information for the documentation. And while we list 5 things here, it's far more extensive than that. And we're currently working through what we have received and what we haven't received. And we'll be asking for the things we haven't received if they exist. If they don't exist, we'll move on without them. And all of this together will establish that foundation for all subsequent analysis. Advance the slide, please. So engagement week 1, we completed. It was January 19th through the 23rd. It's primarily city-focused engagement. We were able to complete interactions with stakeholders at the leadership and operational and support levels for the DECC, which is the city's 911 center, and with the HEART program leadership, as well as observations of both the HEART program in action in the 911 center, as well as the operations of the DECC. We incorporated, due to availability, the county EMS leadership, as well as a fire responders group interview at one of the fire stations. We had a really good turnout there of about, I think, 15 or more people of all ranking levels of operations. We did conduct some individual interviews with leadership, supervisors, support functions, and of course, the observations I spoke of. Those observations are not only an opportunity to see what are the workflows when they handle calls, when they dispatch, how HEART is integrated, but it's also an opportunity to talk to the people in their element, in their environment, about the work that they do, and what their thoughts and questions and concerns might be about what the future might look like. Thank you. You can advance the slide. Thank you. Our second engagement week will be this week. Due to the weather and this being remote, I elected to stay home, and I'll be coming up this afternoon. So I'll be there for the week. And this week we'll be engaging the Sheriff's Office leadership from the sheriff on down. And it'll also include the dispatch operations staff and their support personnel, the Office of Emergency Services, and there'll also be some focus more on backup 911 planning and continuity. Some follow-up interviews with people that we missed the first week, city and HART staff, and additional operational observations. And the second week will complete the discovery phase, but we will do follow-up remote interviews as necessary. What we find is some people, for whatever reason, may not be available while we're there, as well as discovering additional stakeholders that we need to connect with. Thank you. You can advance the slide. So board engagements, very clear in listening to your board meeting where your board work session or meeting where you were discussing this contract approval of what the expressed interest is. And I appreciate that because a lot of times at your level, decision-making level, it's we approve it and then we don't see anything until the results, and you need to understand what happens in between. So to do that, we'll make sure that you have visibility into the progress. There's opportunities for involvement and discussion and understanding when and where there are key decision points and what those involve. So those opportunities come in the guise of status updates through county leadership, formal draft review workshop prior to the final recommendations, and also know that we'll be doing intermittent draft content reviews with the project stakeholders that will inform this. So again, they won't be surprised by an end outcome of findings and recommendations. And then we're also committed to 2 work session presentations like this to and with the board at the end of this process. We also are making sure we're sensitive to and informing our processes and being mindful of the Durham County's adopted strategic plan, Durham Forward 2029. Thank you. Advance the slide. So best practices in national context, this is almost always a consideration and concern. We certainly incorporate those into any discussions about consolidation and where they exist or are being formed regarding the mental health program expansion. We're also doing some comparables to make sure that there isn't anything we've missed, or maybe even the HART folks may not be aware of, that may be of benefit to the expansion of the program. So we're also looking at jurisdictions where programs originated within one entity and expanded regionally, which is really where, even though you're looking at a county-wide, it would still be more of a regionalization of that program. So these comparisons inform many of the models that we develop, whether it's operations, governance, staffing and cost considerations. And one of the most valuable tools that we gain from interacting with and pulling out information from other studies, be it ours or others, are the lessons learned. Thank you. Advance the slide. We do try to make sure we're focusing on cost efficiency and investment, because those are going to be questions brought up and considerations when making final decisions. So we're going to make sure we explicitly address what are your current and potential future operating costs. What are the implications for capital investment? Where are the opportunities for efficiency, both in operations and in cost? And leveraging your existing assets and planned investments. And we want to make sure you understand that these cost estimates will be presented alongside the consolidation and HART expansion options, and not made in isolation once the analysis is complete. Advance the slide, please. So what does consolidation mean for Durham? One of the things that comes up in almost every stakeholder engagement, be it individual or group, is the need to define that, because it means something different to everyone. We do not come in with any preconceived ideas or predetermined outcome. Consolidation at one end of the spectrum can mean a single agency with a single system. All employees are employees of a single entity. But then there are at least 20 or more variations of that may work better for you. And that's what we want to make sure we vet all of those out. And we just don't aim for a end outcome that wouldn't suit you. So the study, to get to that, the study evaluates the models that are known or even discovered for operations, governance structures, technology and facility approaches, transition costs, and continuity impacts. And they're all assessed not only for the feasibility, but again, what will work for Durham and align with Durham's needs. Advance the slide, please. So the backup 911 and EOC coordination is a key consideration in this because timing and resiliency is important to any sort of change in how you provide a service because you want that resiliency built in. So it's great that this EOC backup is already being planned, this 911 backup in the new EOC. So while we're examining the current backup and continuity arrangement, we're looking at how consolidation's options affect that redundancy as well as the planned future redundancy. Whether you share facilities or resources to provide that resilience for cost benefits. And the goal again is in alignment between what the operational decisions are and any long-term investments. Advance the slide, please. Our project timeline. We're right now obviously in the first phase of this fall/winter 2025 where we're completing the initiation, which we have completed the initiation, and conducting the stakeholder engagement. The following phase, which will begin probably the end of February, will be this winter/spring 2026, where we do the current state analysis, the assessment itself, develop options for both the consolidation, potential consolidation, and the hard expansion. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll do interim section reviews with project leadership to make sure we're on the right path and we're not trying, trying to take this in the wrong direction. Spring, early summer 2026, we'll actually do the draft report development, the draft review workshop, which will be on site, and refine our recommendations based on the outcome of that workshop. And then summer 2026, I believe the due date will be September 1, will be the delivery of the final report and conduct the board work sessions to help you guys have your opportunity to really go through, dissect the report and ask the questions and make tweaks that would be needed for a decision to come out of this process. Advance the slide, please. So what comes next? Completing the county on-site this week, consolidate those findings, begin our options development, integrate the things that are going to be key to decisions, cost, governance, implementation considerations, and prepare those draft materials. Advance the slide, please. So the last slide I have here is just the key takeaways. We're on schedule and progressing as planned. The discovery stakeholder engagement, I'd say, is 50% complete after this week and the week or so after, where we clean up anybody that we missed or that wants to be heard that wasn't. Then we'll be done with the discovery and stakeholder engagement. We are making sure that your priorities are directly shaping the analysis. The findings and recommendations will be objective, not subjective, and they'll be data-driven, practical, and transparent. And we welcome continued dialogue with the board at key milestones. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. I love your methodology and how you presented this information. It was clear, it was concise, it was very informative about where we are and how we move forward. For this sensitive topic of the combination here, the community is very interested in it, and providing this level of data and information is essential. So thank you so much for this. It was really good to hear how you all presented, how you presented this information, your progress, your next steps, what's on track, what's not, and so forth. So I just really want to take a moment to appreciate you and your team's efforts and the way that you present it and how you're going to be coming back as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to open this up to other commissioners. Commissioner Alam, Vice Chair Commissioner Alam had her hand up first, and then Commissioner Jacobs did, then Commissioner Valentine. So I'll go in that order. Commissioner Alam.
Thank you. I want to echo Sherry, the comments from Chair Dr. Lee. I really appreciate the thoroughness that y'all have put forward in this process. I think it's going to be really important for us as commissioners in our decision-making process, but also for residents who are going to want to understand how we're coming up with our decisions to be able to follow through this methodology step by step. So I really appreciate you with creating this transparency for us to be able to present residents with. I was wondering, so the city portion of the engagement has been completed. Wondering with the timeline and presentations, like, will we have periodic report backs to the board, or will we wait till like the summer period after everything is completed for a follow-up presentation for the commissioners?
I'd like to defer to Perry Mans and Dan Nussbush for that, because we are certainly open and available, though nothing specific has been scheduled. I imagine there's an internal process also by which they need to follow to make sure that things are coming in front of you. I can say that nothing formal has been drafted. We just are open to that, because that is important that you see, as I like to call it, how the sausage is made.
So thank you, Sherry, and good morning again, commissioners. Great question. So please note that the county manager and I are in continued conversations as to how we package and distribute information to you. Clearly, it will be in alignment with what we're hearing from our consultants and their efforts and the actual stakeholders. And so we will definitely make it a point to have some type of periodic check-in, whether it's a white paper or just some way of distributing information to you, so you all will be up to date on the process and where things are. So thank you.
Thank you, Perry. And okay, I will look forward to those continued presentations. The other question that I had was related to, as we do an analysis on the cost portion of the consolidation of the 911 call center, obviously I know that the individual conversations and stakeholder meetings take some time, and also cost analysis takes time as well. But is there an opportunity, and Manager Hager, I guess I'll present this with you, of can we, at least the commissioners, have the cost analysis savings shared with us via like a document or a presentation update sooner rather than later? Because I feel like that is a significant portion of this decision process, because keeping 2 911 call centers is very expensive, as well as like with the construction that we've been having of the new emergency response center, wanting to have that fiscal data available as soon as possible.
Commissioner Lum, that's a great question. And I know that has been in the forefront of the discussion, sort of what's the cost benefit of going one direction versus the other, and then what's the opportunity cost? What do you give up in both of those scenarios as well? So I will go back and have conversations with Perry and others to determine the timing of when that cost data is shared. Because there are some decision points that will definitely determine which direction we're headed. And Perry may have additional information he can share as far as timing, but that is our intent, that we keep the board updated so that those key decision points, timing wise, will not jeopardize the efficiency of this process. And one of the benefits of the partner that's helping us with this, with AdCom, is that they've done this work before with many other jurisdictions across the country, and they will help guide us as well about that. So that is in the forefront, and I'll shift to Perry to see if he has any other comments about that.
Manager, I think you said that eloquently. Yes, we have made that a point with AdCom Engineering, and they are and will be able to provide the cost analytics as soon as possible. to help us shape our decisions. Again, we sort of have to get through the process to really have that information. And so, yes, Commissioner, we will get you that information as soon as possible to try to get ahead of any efficiencies or any, I guess, cost benefits that this may bring to the county, and for your information and to be able to share with the public as well. So we will certainly do that. Thank you.
Because for the current, the 911 emergency center, the new one that is being built with the backup centers, what's current step is that at? And like in the construction and planning?
Yeah, the current EOC is actually tracking faster than anticipated, and that's due to some, I guess, expediency in the site plan approval process. We are clearly wrapping up construction documents, and we hope to break ground actually in fall of 2026. And so that just gives you a sort of a big picture overview of where that project is. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry, so much for your very clear presentation. I appreciate all the work that's happened thus far and the fact that you are coming back to us early on in the process to for input. I do have a few follow-up requests and questions. One, I just want to clarify, since the engagement, it seems, has not happened yet with the 911 center that is operated by the Office of the Sheriff. I just want to confirm that you're also collecting the data from the operations of that 911 center.
Yes, ma'am. We have actually already collected that data. The surveys that I made mention of, and sorry I didn't go into great detail about them, but they were very extensive, and the sheriff's office did complete all of that data. So it has to do with their workload, technology inventories, demographics. A lot of information has already been collected from the sheriff's office. So we go into it with some knowledge of how they operate as far as their workflows and things like that. So it's not new to us when we walk in the door.
Okay, and are you looking at both the DECC and the Office of the Sheriff 911 Center, the types of calls?
Yes.
Okay.
Most definitely, because not only the types of calls for service that are accepted and dispatched out of both operations, but how they do it, because there's always slight differences from a police response perspective and from a sheriff's office response perspective, as well as not leaving out the difference between paid fire and volunteer fire. You're lucky to have a countywide EMS, so those responses are consistent and all coming from one location. But we do know the sheriff concentrates on law enforcement, and it's sheriff's office response versus a PD response. There is a difference. Thank you.
And are you looking at the training of the staff in both of these centers?
Yes, ma'am. Part of the request for information is not only policies and procedures, but protocols do they follow, and what does their training program look like? And what is the content and the results of those training, hiring and training processes.
Okay, and also how the calls get interpreted and directed out, and to what entities?
Yes, that as well. That's a key part of the observations results is to not just talk to someone about it or read about it, but to actually observe it and talk to them while they're doing the job, so we understand the why behind what they do.
Yeah. Okay. I ask all of these questions because I appreciate what we've seen as which is predominantly an engineering analysis of this issue. And I really want to raise the issue that this is more than just an engineering analysis. I want to make sure that the work that's being done and this study is actually also looking at this as the role that the 911 centers play in our behavioral crisis response system. This is not just looking at cost and efficiency. The 911 centers are a part of our crisis response system. And I want to make sure that we are also looking at how we are measuring other outcomes, because that is the whole purpose of these systems, is what is the impact of how they function. So for instance, are we looking at outcomes such as how people are connected to resources, those that need behavioral health resources, how are they connected to those resources? I would like to know how we are looking at the impact to law enforcement when people are directed to resources, and then understanding how that frees up law enforcement to actually be able to focus on things like violent crime. That is something we, as a cost, that we need to understand in our system. I would like to also see us looking at, and this is again, this is the national model and conversation. How are we able to measure those that are diverted from interacting with our criminal justice system that don't need to be having that interaction? And so there are costs to all of these things if we don't, if our system is not operating in the right way. So I really want to make sure that these are being reflected in the analysis. And I would like to suggest that you, I didn't see any mention of working with the Stepping Up initiative and the sequential intercept map that Durham has adopted. The 911 center, the 911 call is the first intercept on our sequential intercept map. It is the first critical step in our behavioral crisis response system. And our sequential intercept map tells us that we need to try to limit interaction with our criminal justice system in intercept 1, because studies have shown that for people of color, especially Black people in the United States, that as you go beyond intercept 1, you increase the collateral damage and the probability that Black people in our community and in the United States are going to have increased contact with our criminal justice system. And I also suggest that you reach out to Renee Shaw, who is the head of our Stepping Up initiative, and also to the director of our Justice Resource Center, and because they have the data and about what our goals are that we are trying to achieve in Durham County to divert people from our criminal justice system. And this has to be part of our analysis on outcomes and costs. And I know it's harder to do that, but this is what is happening nationally as a best practice. I'd also like to know and I'm really glad to see Joe Thomas part of your team with his background in mental health programs and governance. But I'd like to know what are the national models that you are using. And I'm going to send to county manager some resources from the National Association of County Officials about some of the national models that they have looked at. And I also want to, I will send.
We need to wrap.
Okay.
Can you ask a
So
question?
I'll send that, and I want to make sure that we're looking at the Pew Charitable Trust study, improving behavioral health emergency response. So I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. And I've taken note of that, and I will get with Perry and Dan about exactly where and how the Stepping Up initiative aligns with the scope of work, and definitely appreciate any material that anybody wants to share regarding these response programs for mental health.
Commissioner Valentine.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just say that my colleagues have sort of worked their way through some very interesting questions with respect to the way forward, and I appreciate their insight. I want to highlight the discussion about best practices. I think that it's clear to me as a member of the board that all of us are invested in moving the ball forward in this particular area, and how we get the yes is important. And so we should keep that particularly in mind. But I too, Commissioner Jacobs, is concerned about the behavioral health response as it relates to the integration of the 911 system. So I share that concern. Thank you, Ms. Bush, for your presentation this morning. And my question really was one about the collection of data. And I think that question has been answered unequivocally. And so I'm happy to hear that you hadn't had any resistance with regards to the collection of data. My colleagues from time to time have some concerns about that. So I'm pleased to hear that the collection of data has not been a problem. I look forward to your periodic updates. And with respect to the discussion on cost analysis, cost savings is an important component, not the only component, but looking at that analysis relative to the expansion of HART also is something that we need to get our hands around. Again, I believe that all of us are committed to getting to yes, but we want to be fiscally sound in how we get there. So I look forward to continuation of this discussion. And thank you again, Ms. Bush.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I will give Commissioner Burton an opportunity. She had her hand up and she put her hand back down. Just want to double check with you, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Lee. Yeah, I think everybody covered what I was going to say, and I just wanted to keep the meeting moving, but this is a great presentation, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the results, because this is something that our community has been talking about, the expansion of HART, the consolidation of the 911 center. So thank you, Ms. Bush, for your report. And thank you, Perry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all again for your presentation. It did my heart very good to see your format and your methodology. So I really appreciate that. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Durham Bike and Walk Plan update. We have 30 minutes allotted for this. Commissioner Hager, Manager Hager.
Yes, sir. And good morning again. We will have an update on the bike and walk plan. We have from our transportation department director, Ella Beckman and Brooke Roper, who will share those highlights. And so I will pass it off to them.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Brooke Roper. I'm a transportation planner with Durham County. And we're also joined by Ellen Beckman, who is the Durham County Transportation Director. We're very excited to share the bike walk plan update with you this morning. And this is an informational item only, so there's no action requested today of the commission, but we are seeking commissioner feedback on the draft plan. And our team is anticipating to bring this plan back to you this spring for anticipated adoption. On the next slide, we'll go over an overview of what we'll start with. So I'll run through the draft plan and engagement process overview, share how the community may participate in phase 3 engagement, and we'll also outline next steps for this plan. While there is much information in this plan, we'll focus primarily on each of the county priority corridor projects, along with key policy recommendations as well. So moving on to the next slide, please. This is an update to the 2017 bike walk plan. And importantly, it's the first time that Durham County has participated within this planning effort. The bike walk plan has been a great collaborative effort between the City of Durham, Durham County, the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, all to ensure connectivity throughout Durham and the region. And Alta and Idealisms has served as our project consultants throughout this process. So on the next slide, please. Development of this plan started in October 2024 with an initial steering committee meeting, preliminary data collection, and phase 1 engagement. Over the past year, we've held numerous working group meetings to develop draft network recommendations that were shared this past fall for phase 2 engagement. And we're currently reaching the tail end of this planning process and have publicly shared a full draft plan to gather feedback before finalization of the plan. On the next slide, please. So to the left to right, you are seeing near-term, mid-term, and long-term improvements within the bike walk plan. Improvements focus on projects that close gaps and improve safety across the network. The near-term map on the left shows 60 corridor and micro gap projects that are already in some phase of planning, design, or development. Most are intended for completion within about 5 years. There are some exceptions to this, however, like the long-range Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail, which will likely take many years to design, fund, and implement. The middle map provides an overview of midterm priorities identified throughout the bike walk planning process, along with some other related efforts. The middle map includes 75 priority projects from the bike walk plan. This includes 25 corridor priority projects in the light pink, 25 intersection projects in yellow, and then 25 micro gap projects or projects under 1,000 feet shown in dark pink. This middle map also includes 25 opportunistic projects tied to routine resurfacing and restriping, and that is shown in blue. And there are also DPR Greenway priorities from the 2021 Durham Trails Implementation Plan that are shown with the green line. Together, these are all considered more midterm anticipated priorities for completion within about 15 years. And then finally, the map on the far right shows Durham's long-term vision for a connected walking and biking network. This network is designed to guide future land use and transportation projects and will likely be implemented as new development or redevelopment occurs. The Unified Development Ordinance will refer to this network and require the recommended facilities along street frontages. Likewise, the city and NCDOT, through its Complete Streets policy, will use this network when planning projects like resurfacing, intersection upgrades, street reconstruction, or any new street construction as well. Within the county specifically, the comprehensive network includes recommended buffer or protected bike lanes, along with shared use paths as depicted on other county adopted plans. So next slide, please. In addition to the facility network recommendations, the plan includes policy recommendations for sidewalk maintenance outside of city limits, clarifying the county's role in regional greenways, and supporting city sidewalk project delivery. These policies all build on the UDO update, complete streets and safe routes to school efforts, along with past plans such as the comprehensive plan. And next slide, please. The plan is informed by community input, technical analysis, and staff expertise. We've had extensive outreach in collaboration with stakeholders through a technical prioritization working group and steering committee. The planning process included representatives from both the city and county departments, NCDOT, regional transportation organizations, Durham Public Schools, NCCU, Bike Durham, Downtown Durham Inc., along with elected officials from both the city and the county. On the next slide, we engaged the community in 3 phases, including existing conditions, draft priority projects, and draft plan review. Engagement included online maps and surveys, 4 open houses, over 16 pop-up events, and bilingual outreach. There were 12 engagement ambassadors that supported events and connected with residents throughout the engagement process. We also held stakeholder meetings, including presentations to BPAC and DOST, and 3 steering committee meetings, along with 16 technical prioritization working group sessions. Next slide, please. So phase 1, engagement gathered community input on opportunities and challenges. We had over 1,000 map comments and surveys returned. And phase 2 reviewed a draft list of 150 projects that were developed using phase 1 input. And we generated over 2,000 location-specific comments throughout phase 2. Public input was key in identifying community needs and priorities throughout this process. Moving on to the next slide, please. So we worked with a prioritization working group composed of both city and county staff to create a data-driven method aligned with Durham's goals. The network was scored using 14 criteria, such as safety, equity, connectivity, and access to destinations. Combining data, staff expertise, and community expertise, we built a draft list of 150 projects. This was all, again, shared during phase 2 engagement. And from phase 2, that list was refined to 25 corridors, 25 intersections, and 25 micro gaps. And once the list was refined, our team was able to work internally to amend project sheets for each priority project that are now available in our draft plan. For county projects, we specifically relied heavily on local knowledge and community feedback. Next slide, please. So the draft plan has 4 chapters. Today, we'll focus on chapters 3 and 4 to review the draft priority project sheets, specifically the 5 county priority corridor projects and the proposed county policies for your feedback. Next slide. And we're just going to start with the priority corridor projects and moving on to the next slide. Durham County has 5 key corridor projects that are scattered throughout Durham. These projects share common themes, such as improving access to school, strengthening greenway connections, and enhancing access to transit by improving and filling in sidewalk and side path gaps. Most of these projects will require close collaboration between the city and the county. And in the next few slides, we'll walk through each of these project sheets in a little bit more detail. So next slide, please. Just as a quick note, the plan defines facility types such as sidewalks, bike lanes, and shared use paths. This is all just to ensure clarity when these projects go for actual implementation. Next slide. So the first of the 5 county priority projects we're showing here is the Irwin Road, Randolph Road Sidewalk Gaps project. This project adds sidewalks along Irwin Road and Randolph Road to close gaps and connect the nearby community to Forest View Elementary School. It also includes improvements to the Irwin and Mount Sinai intersection and fixes a long-standing orphan sidewalk near the school that floods regularly. The map on the right shows in red orphan sidewalks or sidewalks with no maintaining agency. In green, the city maintained sidewalks currently. In purple, there is a short, it's 130 feet sidewalk section that is maintained by the county under a 2015 NCDOT sidewalk maintenance agreement. And in the yellow and red dash lines, we have the proposed new sidewalks as part of this project. The photo on the top left shows the orphan sidewalk where parents and students have placed boards and stepping stones to cross. We did receive many comments regarding this project during the bike walk plan engagement. Many positive comments for this project and the need to improve conditions specifically at this sidewalk segment. So all of our project sheets are formatted in a similar way, including sections on why it's a priority, safety statistics, right-of-way considerations, and implementation partners. And again, it's important to re-emphasize that while the county has identified these 5 priority projects, many of these projects weave between city and county boundaries, which is, just to underscore the importance for coordination, planning, and implementation between the city of Durham and Durham County for each of these. So on the next slide, we can walk through the second priority corridor project. This is the Mineral Springs Road Side Path and Freeman Road Sidewalk Gaps project. It was originally recommended by a City Go Durham staff member, and it would provide additional improvements to a future transit bus stop and crossing project located at Mineral Springs and Freeman. It would also serve to connect the surrounding communities to Southern High School. And again, you can see the orphan sidewalk highlighted in red on this slide. So moving on to the next slide, please. The NC 98 Oak Grove Side Path and Sidewalk project is a large overall priority with only the first phase shown on this map here. The project is in its entirety would connect Lynn Road all the way to Woodland Drive. So overall, it would connect shopping centers, neighborhoods, Oak Grove Elementary School, Neal Middle School, and the East Regional Durham County Library. The first phase that is highlighted on this map would specifically connect Oak Crossing Shopping Center, Oak Grove Elementary, and the library. This is an area with a lot of historical orphan sidewalks, as you can see again in red, where the right-of-way was never annexed when development came in. Also, just to note, there's a lot of development pressure and new demand being created in this part of Durham, making it more of a priority. Next slide, please. The Scott King Road Side Path project would connect Lyons Farm Elementary School, surrounding neighborhoods, all to the American Tobacco Trail and Herndon Park. It would do this by filling in gaps of the sidewalks. A city priority intersection improvement project is also located just to the north of this project on Fenwick Parkway, which would further connectivity in this area. Next slide, please. So here is our fifth and final project. The I-85 bridge is a unique priority because it's more of an opportunistic project. Recently, NCDOT has begun discussions about replacing the I-85 bridge over Falls Lake, and staff has flagged this as an opportunity to potentially add bicycle and pedestrian accommodations onto the bridge. Further improvements are proposed on East Gear Street and Redwood Road, and this would connect to the Mountains to Sea Trail, the Panther Creek Greenway, and the Redwood campsite. This project would also align with the Great Trail State Plan proposed alignment that was created by NCDOT. And we have also begun discussions with the U.S. Army Corps, and their staff recently made us aware that there's a Falls Lake master plan, which notes a potential future I-85 overlook recreation area just across the bridge in Granville County. This is just showing a desire for a future recreation spot within this general area. One last note about this project, our team reviewed the South Carolina bridge replacement project that's located over Lake Marion. This project is set to include bicycle and pedestrian accommodations on the bridge. So we've just been using it as a case study into how other communities have done similar projects. And from our preliminary review, including bike and ped accommodations seems like a potential option here. So this is the last priority project from the county. These are all within the draft plan, again, posted online. Specifically, these can be found on pages 49 through 52 as well. Next slide. So moving on to the policy side of this plan, we'll start with sidewalk maintenance policy, and then we'll also get into the county's greenway policy as well. Next slide. So as we know, sidewalks are essential for safety and equity, but maintenance responsibilities have been fragmented in Durham. State law requires cities to maintain sidewalks inside city limits, and in the county, most roads are maintained by NCDOT, but NCDOT does not typically maintain sidewalks. NCDOT requires local maintenance agreements for sidewalks built in state right-of-way. So we've been working with the planning department to update UDO requirements. So sidewalks are required within the urban growth boundary as before and in the current UDO, but also in key locations outside of the urban growth boundary. And this is based on county adopted plans. For example, the Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail plan identifies important community connections to the proposed trail, like near Mangum Elementary School, Red Maple Park, and the Mountains to Sea Trail. Past UDO requirements, annexation practices that excluded right-of-way and sidewalks built without maintenance agreements have created a backlog of orphan sidewalks. And currently there are about 6 miles of orphan sidewalks outside of city limits with no agency currently responsible for upkeep of them. While 6 miles is a relatively small number compared to Durham's over 700 miles of sidewalk, lack of maintenance can really create unsafe conditions, such as the Forest View Elementary School example, and that picture is shown here again. So just a little background on the Forest View sidewalk. We believe it was built in the 1990s as part of an off-site proffer from a city development, but it was never added to an NCDOT maintenance agreement. Later, NCDOT widened this road, causing flooding that makes the sidewalk hazardous for students walking to school. We've received numerous complaints about this sidewalk, but as it remains an orphan sidewalk, it is a hard sidewalk to address. Next slide, please. So to resolve this issue, county staff have produced a few potential options, including a city-county partnership, a county-only program, or a policy change. The first option is a partnership with the city. This would start with a full county sidewalk inventory to locate all orphan sidewalks and clarify who should maintain them. With this information, we could use the city's existing sidewalk maintenance and prioritization program, with the county contributing based on the number of sidewalks that are due to past and present county requirements. We would also recommend exploring UDO tools such as public access easements and a county payment in lieu program. These tools would help maintain flexibility and ensure sidewalk connectivity continues to grow while keeping maintenance in mind. This option would avoid duplication of work, ensure ADA compliance throughout the city and the county, but it does not align with the city's current maintenance policy. The second option is for the county to create its own maintenance program or possibly involve hiring a specific contractor. This would cover sidewalks built under county requirements, but would leave other orphan sidewalks unmaintained. If neither option works, the third approach would be a policy change to prevent creating sidewalks without a maintaining agency. This could mean updating UDO requirements, not requesting NCDOT built sidewalks, and avoiding projects that would result in orphan sidewalks. So we've been in ongoing discussions with city staff, and we all remain committed to working together towards our shared infrastructure goals. Additionally, county attorneys are currently reviewing these recommendations from a legal perspective as well. Next slide, please. Our second county policy update focuses on Durham County's role in regional greenway planning and development. To guide this, we looked at what other counties do. Typically, counties lead planning and coordination. They can provide funding support, but they are not generally responsible for maintenance. Funding strategies often include capital improvement programs, voter-approved bonds, grants, and partnerships. Wake County approved a $120 million bond in 2018 to support greenway and open space goals. And Wake County helps fund projects mainly through bond allocations and cost sharing agreements for planning and design. Funding is prioritized for corridors identified in their greenway system plan and based on their regional connectivity goals. But once built, Wake municipalities assume ownership and maintenance while Wake continues to coordinate on that higher level regional planning and promotion of connectivity within the county. As another part of this process, our team also identified possible greenway extensions that build on the 2011 Trails and Greenways Master Plan. Two recommendations of extensions include the Chunky Pipe Creek Trail, which I believe is in yellow. Oh, I'm sorry, I think that's in green. Our recommendation would be extending from the Stallings Road to Santee Road, and on the Lick Creek Trail extension from the urban growth boundary to Southview Road. Overall, for Durham, we recommend adopting a county-wide greenway plan, such as the bike walk plan, formalizing agreements with municipalities, and phasing projects based on input and feasibility. Maintenance would be a joint effort, primarily led by the city, but supported by the county and supplemented, hopefully, by volunteer stewardship. Next slide, please. So the draft plan, again, is open for public comment through February 9th. After that, we'll finalize edits and cost estimates for the priority projects, and adoption is targeted for spring of 2026. Next slide. We are seeking input on the priority projects and key policy sections. The draft plan is available on engagedurham.com. And final slide, please. Thank you for your time and input. We welcome your questions and feedback.
Thank you very much. And you hit that 30 minutes right on the dot. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm going to allow about 15 minutes for questions or less. or less. But okay, all right. So here we go. I'm just kidding. So all right, well, I have hands up from Commissioner Burton and then Commissioner Jacobs. So I'll go with Commissioner Burton first, please.
Thank you, Chair Lee, and thank you, Brooke, for this really great presentation. I was just wanting to say, I really like in the report about the Southern High School and the sidewalks, because I've been hearing about that for at least 10 years, about the lack of sidewalks and the danger that imposes, and how that needs to be taken care of. So I'm really glad that you all are focusing on that. I did have a question about, I know we're not just giving, talking about what we want to do with regards to the maintenance of sidewalks and things, but say if we did, like, I guess a county only program or something like that, would we have to, well, I guess that cost would fall on Durham County totally. Like, we would have to have our general services or whoever to do that. I'm just really want to make sure I'm clear about that. Because I really think we need to have sidewalks, because we're a growing city and county, and we're getting out of this mode of this southern, you know, small southern town. So people who move here expecting sidewalks. So I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do that, or how do we do that as a county?
Yes, thank you for that question, Commissioner Burton. We would essentially have to define that role for the county, since we typically have not done, a county-wide sidewalk maintenance policy. We do have that 2015 sidewalk maintenance agreement for the piece very close to Forest View Elementary School. But we would need to have discussions to define, if the county has a department that would cover maintenance, or potentially work with hiring an outside contractor to do that work. For the cost, yes, that would fall on the county. We don't have that information in the report currently, but we do estimate that the cost of maintenance would be around $5,000 to $13,000 per mile per year. So in total, the 2.5 approximately miles that are in the county that are currently orphan sidewalks would be about $12,000 to $31,000 a year.
If I could add to
Thank
that.
you. And I also wanted to say I really like the
Commissioner Burton, you went off mute right in the middle of what your statement was, and then we'll
No.
go to Ellen.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm want to hear Ellen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners. I just wanted to add that most sidewalks don't require that much maintenance. The Forest View sidewalk was highlighted because that's a known issue, but that is the exception, I think, more than the rule. Most of the sidewalks are in fine condition, and routine maintenance just consists of like inspecting them every so often to make sure that they continue to be in acceptable condition without like ADA tripping hazards or anything like that. It's really when there is a problem is when you might have expenses, but the day-to-day is relatively low maintenance and make low cost.
That's good to know. Thank you for this great report, and I appreciate all y'all's help and guidance and helping us decide what do we do next.
Okay, I'll go to Commissioner Jacobs now.
Thank you. I just want to lift up the significance of us having our first city county bike pedestrian plan. We have never done this in Durham. And again, I think it's another example of how the city and the county are collaborating and working together for the benefit of people in our community. So I'm really grateful grateful to everyone who's been leading this process, been involved. There's been a lot of engagement. I also want to lift up the methodology and the decision-making, the data that has been used to really narrow down, these 75 projects has been truly incredible. To also really reflect, in a very detailed way that, who is really being impacted in our community by, safety issues and lack of walkability and access and things like that. And so again, this is a great plan. And I think also what's being recommended are things that are really feasible. I love the fact that these are things that we can do in the next 5 to 10 years, like the micro gaps, things like that. People want to see progress. And I think this is a great plan where people are going to see the impact. I totally support the recommendations for the county roles related to regional greenways and also around addressing sidewalk maintenance. Since was on the planning commission, which goes back now, I hate to say it, I think it's like 25 years now, I think. A long time that this has been an ongoing issue around sidewalks, and we have to solve this. It's not working for people in our community, as Commissioner Burton noted, Southern High School. But if you notice, almost all of the problems in the county are school related and are safety related, for kids to be able to walk safely to school. I support the first recommendation related to that, and I really encourage our city and county staff to work together. I noted that the barrier was it's not in the city's current policy. Obviously, that policy can be changed. And as we just discussed with the 911 centers, we need to be about efficiency, and there's no need for the county to create a sidewalk maintenance department and program when that's not something that we do. Whereas the city has a department and they know how to do the work. And so we need to figure out what changes we need to make, the city and the county, so that we can work together in a cost-effective way. I also want to note that one other funding source that wasn't mentioned in this so far, that I didn't see in the presentation, is RTP, the transit tax. That is another funding source which they are using to build the trails, at least for the design and planning for the Triangle Bikeway Plan, that goes all the way to the multimodal center, the proposed multimodal center. They're participating in that. So that's another important funding source. And I look forward to the county being engaged in regional greenways, because you can see the incredible progress that Wake County has been able to make in terms of regional plans and the Triangle Bikeway Plan, because they have the ability to apply for funding and try to get federal funding and things like that. So great job. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Are there any other commissioners who are interested in making a comment here? Statement? Well, team, thank you very much for this. Very informative. I really appreciate it. This is good stuff. This is how we move forward in Durham, and I really appreciate your work here. Great presentation. So thank you very much. All right, the next item on our agenda is an update from the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce. We have allotted 30 minutes for this. I will pass it over to Commissioner Hager, who will pass it forward.
Sir, you keep giving me a promotion. I politely declined that, but
Manager Hager.
no, that's fine. Good morning again, commissioners. We will have an update on Greater Black Durham Chamber of Commerce. As a reminder, we have several partner organizations that support our efforts with economic and workforce development. We've had updates from also partners that have been funded through the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. Some of those updates happened in 2025. And so as we plan for the budget and other conversations, we will hear from CJ Broderick, who is the President and CEO of the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce. And so I will turn it over to him. And as the chair said, we have about 15 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll allow for questions and answers from the board. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Black History Month. It's good to be with you all this February, and to Chair Lee and the commissioners, to the staff. Again, good morning. My name is CJ Broderick. I've titled this presentation, Partnering to Support Shared Prosperity in a More Thriving Durham Economy. I'll first introduce myself, share a little bit about our organization, and then get into the details about the work we've done together in the recent past, and then some asks for the future. So again, I'm CJ Broderick. I've been a Durham resident for about 27 years. I do have the pleasure of serving as the president and CEO of the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm also engaged in the community in other ways as the board chair for the Durham Workforce Development Board, member of the Durham Racial Equity Task Force, and in other capacities, and a happy, proud resident of Durham, North Carolina. About the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce, we are a nonprofit organization that has been around since 2008, with the goal of fighting against systemic racism's creation and furtherance of economic inequity. Our mission is to support the growth and development of Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses, and the Black business ecosystem. Our vision is Black economic freedom, justice, and prosperity. Our work is informed and guided by over 300 members of our organization, a 19-person member board, and the President's Council. We execute our work in pursuit of our vision by providing advocacy, support, and access to capital, access to contracts, access to information, and also education. This morning, I'd like to again recap our partnership over the last 4.5 years or so, request additional access to Durham's economic development tools and work, as well as the company funds and decision-making power. And that number 2 will be guided by some of the things we've learned in the last 4.5 years. And then at the end, open up for any feedback and questions from all of you. So let's just start by recapping. Since 2021, we've executed a contract with Durham County in fiscal year 22, and then again every year since then, to assist businesses impacted by the pandemic with local, state, and federal resources to limit the scope of the pandemic, to provide, promote, and enroll businesses in targeted training and technical assistance, addressing identified gaps and opportunities for growth, to successfully connect businesses to local, state, and federal funding opportunities that will maintain and enhance business operations, to work with businesses to identify barriers to success and seek resolution through the continuum of small business service providers and available resources. We've also been tasked with collaborating with city and county coordinated efforts and partnerships, providing businesses with training and technical assistance. To that end, we're charged with the following metrics: collected number of businesses that we successfully connected to technical assistance, the number of businesses that we successfully connected to grant and local and loan funding opportunities, and also collect the number of events we hosted to promote funding and technical assistance opportunities. Our methodology included publicizing in-person virtual technical assistance offerings, researching and publishing local, regional, and national grant and loan funding opportunities, and then providing technical assistance necessary to attain those loans and grants, designing, planning, and executing in-person and virtual sessions and events to respond to the observed needs, and then to provide technical assistance again that's needed. As we've done over the past 4.5 years, we've had collected data to really be able to show the value of the work and the contract. And so we've collected data on the amount of workshops and seminars we've hosted, the individuals served, the businesses served, the amount of hours spent with technical assistance, counseling, and also, and also through events and the number of events we've done for counseling. You see that the first year was kind of our fiscal year 22 was kind of our foundation year, 215 persons served, 182 businesses, 157 in counseling hours, and then 25 events there. And then you see there the 23, the numbers, again, 517, 272, and so on and so forth. And then so we have there on fiscal year 26 so far, the number of individuals served, businesses served, counseling hours, and events. Beyond 2022, we started to collect more data than this data that highlighted a little more granularly what we wanted to also to keep track of. Business grant preparation and support, business loan preparation and support, business certification preparation and support, business plan review refinement, business branding and pitch support, joint venture support, connections to contracts, business marketing support, and then business bookkeeping support. I'll add some more details to how we got to these new collectible data points in a bit here. One testimonies we received as a basis of our work, one from Howard Burchett, owner of Real Property Management Trustworthy. Howard said, the support I've received from the GDBCC has helped me gain insights that have significantly enhanced my business operations. I've also received one-on-one coaching on various things such as achieving my hub certification, which has opened new avenues for growth and collaboration. My participation in many of the GDBCC programs on business planning, bookkeeping, and various best practices has been instrumental in my professional development. Just share one more testimony for you all. Ashley Rawlinson, owner of Heritage Wine, said the GBCC webinars and resources um, have expanded my business knowledge and awareness in the field where I'm still learning as I grow. And the connections I've made with consultants, accountants, fellow business owners, and supporters have been truly impactful. The community has given me both tools and relationships that continue to strengthen my journey. There's two testimonials there. Lessons learned, major themes. In roughly 4.5 years of supporting these businesses, we've provided an immense value for a nominal fee. Again, I think if you look at the amount of our contract versus the deliverables, I think you'll find that per person or per hour, we're hard to beat as it relates to an investment in our small business community. Generally, the businesses we've served can be categorized into one of three distinct phases: startup phase, the growth phase, and the scaling phase, needing corresponding supports. Through our work, there were two big takeaways that I want to share with you that I think are important. The first takeaway is that for the businesses we're serving in the startup and growth phases, the supports that are needed and provided often include business plan review and development, foundational bookkeeping, coaching, referrals, marketing, business development, coaching, counseling, and then facilitate connections again to banks, accountants, insurers, lawyers, HR firms, and other supporter organizations. We find that in this area, we're readily equipped with the right tools as an organization, the right partners to be able to do this work readily. And we've done this work well, and we believe we can continue to do this work well. The second takeaway is that for business in the scaling phase and sometimes for business in the growth phase, most important supports that they require access to economic development tools such as recruitment and retention tools, as well as access to larger marketing contracts. At this phase, we experience unnecessary barriers in connecting small businesses to requested information in these tools. In particular, many questions about vacant buildings and opportunities to recruit potential partners to the area have ended in dead ends for us and inability to get information back to these small businesses that are either growing or scaling. As such, we've experienced feeling a little bit disconnected from Durham's economic and workforce development systems. So based on these two key takeaways, we've responded with these and requested in the like manner. The first thing we've done is continue to design, launch, and enhance different programs like our Ignite Business Foundations program to help entrepreneurs better understand and gain a solid foundation for their businesses. We've also designed and launched things like the Enrich bookkeeping, bookkeeping training program to increase our entrepreneurs' understanding and appreciation and utilization of bookkeeping tools and services. Again, this is for businesses that are typically in the startup and growth phases. For businesses in the scaling phase, we've now requested for some time now to this body additional access to economic development activities and tools to better assist these small businesses to be able to grow appropriately, scale appropriately, and use tools such as marketing and retention opportunities. With a particular emphasis on on figuring out how to connect Black businesses and small businesses to these opportunities. So the next thing I'll do here again is just share a couple of more detailed, more granular points as relates to um, how the effects of our limited access to Durham's economic and workforce development tools to be able to assist these small businesses, especially Black businesses. Three things here that I'm going to highlight as effects. One is titled Passengers, Not Drivers. Number two is titled Distrust and Advocacy and Lack of Advocacy, if you will. And then number three is titled Nightmares versus Dreams. In the first portion, the passengers, not drivers, I share that small businesses, especially Black businesses, have been relegated to being passengers and not drivers in Durham's economic and workforce development system. This has resulted in a lack of critical information and contracts. Often businesses in this community, small businesses, Black communities, feel like they're the last to know and the first to go. Their involvement and engagement in projects, capital projects, and larger seem to be relegated to dump trucks, cleanup, and things that are not things that we think we can do a better job in. Versus feasibility studies, consulting, architectural designs, and things of that nature. The second thing here in this relegation of being passengers, not drivers, is that it's really continued to socialize all of us that small businesses, especially Black businesses, are second tier and not deserving of the representation of the access of the power in these economic development systems. And it has generally led to overrepresentation in certain areas and underrepresentation in other areas. Black businesses and workers are overrepresented in low pay, low power, low access roles, and also underrepresented in industries where they're dominated by high pay, high power, and high access. The second title here is Distrust and Lack of Advocacy. Small businesses, again, especially Black businesses, have also expressed the following barriers in economic and workforce development systems: a lack of trust in negotiated community benefit agreements, a lack of representation and advocacy for Black businesses and institutions, and a lack of trust in governmental decision making. These are all connected to, again, not as much trust and not as much advocacy. And then the third thing here is titled Nightmares versus Dreams. Small businesses, especially Black businesses, have expressed some enduring and nightmarish results of an economic and workforce development system that they don't feel represented in or advocated for in. And some of the results include some of the results of this, the prognosticators of this are the dismantling of Durham's most popular business community and our long-time failure to rebuild it as promised. The continued flow of investment into punitive efforts like prisons and policing, and as opposed and coupled with the underinvestment in empowerment efforts that we're trying to one of which we're trying to propose. Then lastly, the increase in the median income and subsequent displacement of vulnerable Durham residents has also been a huge concern for a lot of our constituents. We've done a lot of research on this over the years, from disparity studies in 2013, 2022, and prior years that have confirmed that our efforts, both at the city and the county, to remediate the remnants of discrimination have not been sufficient. Despite being home of historic Black Wall Street, both our governments are still struggling to spend as low as 5% of contract expenditures with Black-owned businesses. Um, Black-owned businesses all over Durham are repeatedly struggling to keep open with the rising cost of business leases and the rising cost of property. And many of them are closing and leaving certain areas, particularly areas that are proximate to downtown Durham. So what can we do about this, right? As a partner of the county for the last almost 5 years and being proximate to small business support services and seeing firsthand these issues, we believe that we're in a key position to partner with the county to solve this. And what we're proposing is working together to build a structured, representative, responsive, and empowered economic and workforce development system. What I mean by that, I mean a system where there is an intentional, multifaceted, and multi-layered balancing effort where priorities, policies, and practices are shaped by the centering of a diverse group of chambers, employers, and workers. Uh, this would allow us to be drivers and not just passengers, allow our community to be all drivers and not just passengers in our economic and workforce development work. This will result in an increase in economic development activity and increasing small business growth, Black business growth, and overall economic growth, and increasing representation and advocacy for small businesses and Black businesses. This will also increase our trust and advocacy. This will increase our community trust in the community benefit agreements and increase in representation and advocacy for our small businesses and our Black businesses. And this will also increase our overall trust in governmental decision making. And then lastly, this would allow us to, to be, I guess, encouragers, if you will, of dreams and not just nightmares, right? This will lead to increased community engagement and participation, increased economic empowerment and mobility, and then give us the tools to engage in economic development strategies, to think through what we can do about from not just from a governmental level, but through the entire community. What can we do to work together to have to balance the displacement of vulnerable residents as we continue to grow as a community? So what am I asking for? In addition to the continuing our current partnership, asking for you all to double down, to increase our partnership, increase our access to economic development tools and resources. We're modestly requesting $100,000 per year to support our associated costs with service delivery, including personnel, recruitment, marketing, retention, community engagement, and data systems. I want to be clear that I know that you all are in a tough budget cycle, and you have to make a lot of decisions around what to fund, what not to fund. I've always been clear with you all, I think in the last 6 or 7 years, that for us, the most important thing is access and decision-making power. And then thirdly, financial resources. Even if you're not able to allocate a lot of funds to this, the access to the tools on behalf of our community and our small business community and our Black business community would be what's necessary to make them feel included. We've been able to produce work in this region, notwithstanding the amount of resources deployed to us for a long time because of our ability to make it work. We do have letters of support from many members, small business partners, and constituents. These include Honorable William Bell, Dr. Henry McCoy, the Caroline Theater, Farad Ali, Dr. Kimberly Moore, and many others. Thank you all for your time. I'll yield to you all now for any questions you have for me.
Thank you, Mr. Broderick. That was very good. That was very, very good. You did it in 18 minutes, so I really appreciate that. Very good information. I really appreciate this. I looked over this presentation a few times. Very good information. I really appreciate this. I'm going to go with Commissioner Burton first, and then I'll open it up for anyone else who may have any questions.
Thank you, Chair Lee. And let me know if you all can hear me, because I know my connection was breaking up. So
Sound good. You sound good.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, CJ, Mr. Broderick, for your presentation. It was very informative. The question I have is how, wrote down economic development activities. I'm not really clear about that. So what is it that the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce wants to do to economic development activities to be the economic development initiatives?
Yeah.
I'm just really.
Yeah, I understood your question. Yeah, I think very briefly, I think if you look at our contract, it does fit underneath the county's economic and workforce development, economic development department. But the contract we have is small business support, right? And so all the work that we've been doing in the last 4.5 years has been around small business support, which is why I broke it down into the different support small businesses need, right? So startups and growth businesses will need things that we can provide quite readily, right? But there are several members in our community that are beyond the startup that are doing well and are looking at expansion, right? How do they grow? They're looking at recruiting partners to Durham so they can be able to team up and have a more sizable part of our economy They're looking at real estate opportunities, right? And quite often when we delve into those arenas and try to get the research for them, we run into a wall. Even though we have great friends and colleagues at other economic development partners around town, whether it's the Durham Chamber or DDI or Discover Durham, especially the Durham Chamber, we get information from them. Hey, we'd love to talk to you about this, but this is sort of classified and confidential, and because you're not a part of this economic development team, if you will, we're not at liberty to discuss this with you. One example I'll give is, I live in Southwest Durham, and at Carmike 15, Winsong 15 Carmike on MLK is in my community, and we've had several different, and Carmike is this long gone since the pandemic, and several different businesses have inquired about opportunities, what's going to happen there, and could we recruit there, and so long story short, there are tools like that around recruitment, marketing, retention efforts that we don't have access to because we're not more deeply engaged in that work.
So, and I want to make sure I'm clear. So you're saying because when these economic packages come before us, because they have to be, secret, right? And because the Greater Durham Black Chamber of Commerce is not in those discussions, because so many businesses want to scale up and they don't know how to scale up because they're not a part of these discussions.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Not a one-to-one, right? It's layered in the sense that so there are incentive deals that you're speaking of, right? We just had Novartis and RSP to come in and do an incentive deal in December. That's one aspect of it, right? So yeah, we're advocating that we're a part of that discussion because we believe we can add some value to enhance community benefit agreements. We think we can get better proffers to include not just I think we were able to get something for Durham Public Schools Foundation, but we think there are opportunities to at least ask for a proffer as it relates to how we engage our small business community, how we engage our Black business community as well, right? We don't want them to feel disconnected from growth because it's at a certain level, if you will. I think as an empowerment strategy, I think that's a good thing, right? But beyond incentivized deals, right? Beyond deals that we're looking to fund, as it relates to even we went on the city and the county went on a inner city visit to Austin not too long ago, right? And Austin has a Black Chamber of Commerce that we're consistently in contact with through the Texas Association of African American Chambers. And there are best methods and practices in Austin from a Black business perspective that could be very, very valuable to us as we think about employing some of the tactics there that we weren't able to heavily rely on as a function, as a part of that adventure. Again, because it's not a part of our budget, not a part of our scope of work, we weren't able to readily take part in that activity. And so those are some of the things, but more broadly, we're at a fundamental level. When we think about building the economy of the future in Durham, right? When we think about we're in 2020, 2026 right now. When we think about our Durham economy in 2050, right? Certainly our large corporations are thinking about, are certainly well funded and well organized, to think about, to have people in place to think about what Durham 2050, 2070 looks like, right? And they're making plans to do that right now around land acquisition, real estate and those kind of things, right? We want to make sure that there's a continuum so that our small businesses, especially small businesses that are growing, also have an opportunity to see themselves. And we want to also, especially if, again, looking at this from an equity lens, we want to make sure that more of our community is thinking about the future. Because if you're not thinking about the future and planning for the future, you often find yourself left behind or displaced. And then we wonder what happened to these displaced businesses. I think a lot of it's because they aren't a part of this process. And I think that's a huge opportunity for us as a partner.
Thank you. I'm glad you explained it a little bit more so that I have a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner Alum.
Yes, thank you, CJ, for your presentation and for the work that you do. I think I wasn't planning on asking you any questions, but Commissioner Burton's questions kind of opened up a new line of thought process for me of, so from my understanding, like the main request I'm hearing is that the desire to be involved in more of the economic development conversations that happen kind of behind the scenes with companies when the county and the legal team is deciding incentive packages. Is that correct?
That's one part of it, yes. That's one part of maybe a three or four broader asks. The broader ask is to be contracted to engage in economic development work, broadly speaking. Yes, that includes being a part of those conversations around incentive deals, but it also secondarily includes ensuring that we're collecting information from small businesses, including Black businesses, around what Durham 2050 looks like for their business, right? How do we ensure that we're doing things now that their business will be here, right? We lost a giant in NC Mutual, several years ago. MNF is still here. There are other businesses that are in that continuum in that historic business perspective, in a historic business category, and also businesses that are growing here now. We want to make sure that just because they're not just because they're not aware of some of the recruitment and retention tools that are available here. We want to make sure we don't lose them, either from a perspective of going somewhere else. But we also want to make sure that if we can get better partners here for them so that they can grow here, we want to make sure we're doing that too. So yeah, it's an expansion of our team around looking at what the future looks like for our economy.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I think I was just confused because when it comes to the economic development incentive packages that the county does, they are like confidential meetings where it is the county attorney's office, the economic development, and the companies that aren't typically outside partners because these deals are so sensitive and because they're considering, other jurisdictions, other localities, and, obviously with negotiating what the incentive packages are, as well as the state is the only outside entity that usually gets involved in these deals because the governor has the opportunity to match or provide incentives. So I would just have hesitations and reservations about, opening that not just to the Black Chamber of Commerce, to any outside entity just because of the sensitive nature of those conversations and the risks that open up of just like having those conversations be more public. Um, but I think what I'm hearing is that there's an opportunity of expansion of the relationship within the Durham Black Chamber of Commerce and the Durham Chamber of Commerce when it comes to supporting our small local businesses here, because again, those economic development packages are typically for new companies coming into the area or companies that are expanding and meeting a threshold of a certain number of new jobs being created. And so that may not always be applicable to companies that already exist here, um, that are, smaller businesses from any aspect of Durham. So, but I think that the opportunity exists of like with the relationship building with the Durham Chamber of Commerce and maybe um wondering like how, and I don't see, oh yeah, I do see Mr. Miracle here of like if there are ways that we can have like, I don't know what conversations are already existing with the chamber and like our economic development office and your team, but if there's like a working group that brings the three partnerships together to focus more on the Durham local businesses and how we support, Durham grown talent into the future and making sure that everyone's able to sustain into Durham 2050. And wondering also, like, CJ, could you share a little bit more about what your current budget is and the work that y'all are doing in that space?
Yeah, we've been engaged in this space, for the past again 6 or 7 years. I think one of the most, and I want to maybe add something to the comments you made. I think a lot of this is around power being allocated and distributed, how this body sees power being allocated and distributed, right? This body chose the Durham Chamber of Commerce to negotiate and be a part of these deals. And we don't have any problem with that. The Durham Chamber of Commerce, they're our partners. We love working with them. Um, um, there have been conversations in the past around how we can separately, do a deal to make this work. But it doesn't get to the root of the problem, I guess, around the allocation of power and and um, and really engaging different segments of our community in this work. And so, um, um, as it relates to, I think you made a point around, businesses that are here versus businesses that are not here, and jobs, and those we understand those parameters, and I think, so the businesses that are not here. There are healthy businesses, small businesses, large businesses that we're engaged with that are not in Durham, and some that are in Durham that I think would love the opportunity to understand and deal with those incentives, those processes. But again, I think I mentioned that that's certainly just a small piece of the work. Um,
Yeah,
but
and
in, but in
I
one,
just, oh yeah,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead. You
No, I'm
first.
just saying, and I think for the small businesses that exist already here, because there are some companies that like have had campuses, I think like Eli Lilly, for example, but they did an expansion. So they went to, Mr. Miracle and his team and were like, hey, we already exist here in Durham, but we want to expand. Is there opportunity? So that all goes through the county and the county staff. It doesn't go through the Durham Chamber of Commerce. And the negotiations, even with the companies, goes through Mr. Miracle and his team and not through the chamber. It's all internal to the county.
Yeah, and I think those things have changed in the last 5 or 6 years. If again, we've been working on this now for about 7 or 8 years, and there have been some changes that have brought more things back in-house to the county's staff than were before, right? But the main principle here, the main point is that uh, for Durham's existence, right, certain segments of our community, small businesses, especially Black businesses, large Black businesses, in fact, have not had access to these tools to be a part of dreaming about what the Durham economy could look like, right? And as a result, certain communities, small business communities, especially Black business communities, have been, relegated as passengers in economic development and how we plan for the future. And so this body has an opportunity to do something about that and to engage an organization like the Black Chamber in this work going forward. Again, our request for funding is, I think, minimal. You see in your packet, I think you list what it costs for you all to hire a full-time employee at 139,000 or something like that. This is, almost a third of that, and this gives us an opportunity to investigate, right? How much more engaged our small business community can be in economic development, how much more engaged our Black business community can be in economic development. And so I think it's an outstanding opportunity for Durham to lead, not follow, but to lead these United States in as it did in the past with Black Wall Street, and how we can engage sectors of our community in economic development work that it hasn't before. So yeah, so I think there's lots of space to learn together in the future. But what I'm proposing is something that hasn't been tried before, and I think that our community has suffered as a result. I often say that Charlotte got to start in the 1970s around this city of being the banking center and city of finance that it is right now. But in 1910, 1920, Durham had two large Black institutions that were, doing very well, very, very well in the financial field, right? I think, arguably, again, for me, speculatively for me, if we had representation and advocacy and the ability to mold our economy in a way that was balanced before integration, before the 1940s and 50s, that certainly we might be, as it relates to the banking capital of the Southeast, it might be Durham, right? And so we don't know what opportunities exist to do that kind of thing now and into the future. But certainly, I think as it relates to our goal of building empowered communities, I think this is a layup for us to do, and to be the pilot community that makes it work. I yield.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. I just want to be mindful of time. How much more time do we have left on this item?
-5 minutes.
Okay, then I will need to be very brief. Thank you, CJ. It's great to get an update. I think what would be helpful is if you have any data with the metrics around outcomes, because I know a lot of it that you're reporting is kind of like, outputs, but like, do you have any data tracking where we're actually accomplishing some of the actual goals that you lay out as what you're trying to do? That would really be helpful in terms of seeing, increases, improvement in the outcomes for those businesses, or, growing, or the increased economic development activity. That would be helpful. I just want to lift up a few things. One is, and it would be helpful to get this data from staff. The funding, the federal funding that we get for small business development, we channel that money to the city, and it becomes part of the funding for the city's Office of Economic and Workforce Development. That's where a lot of our federal funding really goes for small business and minority business development. So it would be helpful for, I think, us, our board, to understand what are the existing programs that the city is operating on our behalf related to minority and small business development, because traditionally the way that things have been is that, the county is very focused on really doing these big economic incentive deals with RTP and Trayburn, and the city is really, their expertise has really been, and our money, federal funding, has been focused on the small business development. I will say, though, our staff has done a great job with trying to change the internal work on contracting, to your point, CJ, about trying to work and make sure that we are making sure that Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses are in line, know about the opportunities that we have for contracting, both within internally in county government, but also for our economics incentive policies. One of our policy goals that we ask all of the companies about is their percentages that they will commit to trying to achieve working and contracting with, Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. And so that is a part of our policy. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Stephanie Futrell, who is part of our economic development team, who has been doing a great job of working on entrepreneurship, innovation, and small business development. I know Commissioner Burton and I both got to see the work that she's been doing with really leading with our contracts with Forward Cities and Knox Street Partners, and really moving the needle. We saw on a lot of small, Black-owned and other minority-owned businesses. So I just want to lift up that, the work that you're doing is great. We have a lot of other partners in the community that the county does work with in this area. And I think, for me, it's like, if we're going to and as you acknowledged, we're in a financial crisis, really, with at this point, looking forward, with a lot of issues in the county. We're going to have a lot of challenges, but for me, is if we're going to expand our work in this, what you're proposing, I think we would probably do an RFP or something like that, which is how we normally approach these types of things. So, I hope we can look at ways to support collaboration with you and the Durham Chamber. I hear what you're saying, that you would like to see more collaboration, and I hope that we could help facilitate that. We want to have an ecosystem in Durham where we are everyone is at the table and collaborating. But as you know, Commissioner Lum noted, the actual confidential process that's taking place is really between our staff and the county commissioners. And so I just think it's important to recognize that. Anyway, so I didn't know, any follow-up information you could provide related to some of the outcomes would be great. And also letting us know, like, what are some of your other funding sources, and are there opportunities for you to also get access to some of the federal funding that, we are conveying to the city? Do they have any grant opportunities, or how does that work? I don't really know. With the Office of Economic Development, do you receive any funding through those processes?
No, you touched on about 10 things. So I'm gonna just, out of respect for time, I'm only gonna touch on one or two of those things, right? To your last question, no, we don't get any funds from OEWD at present, and haven't, since their existence. I think you're very familiar that they have a new director. They haven't had leadership for some time now, but they have a new director, so we'll see what happens there. But a lot of your comments, I think, are germane to my main point around the history of what's happened in these United States, right? I think a lot of the points you made are endemic of how small businesses, especially Black businesses, have been capped, right? I think they speak to why you have such large numbers of businesses that are Black businesses that are not um, looking for um, large opportunities. And I think that's the issue. And if we're going to tell small businesses, especially Black businesses, that the deals that we're doing with at the county level are too big for them, so they need to just focus on the city, I think that's a mistake. And I would hope that we wouldn't send that kind of message, to our small business community, or especially our Black business community. The second thing I wanted to point out, I think, relates to, again, just this huge opportunity we have, right? I think one of the things that I've seen historically and presently as it relates to Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses, and small businesses when they come with an idea, is that they immediately ask for data, that sometimes doesn't exist because of the barriers they're experiencing, right? The data that you're asking for, I think, is something that we would certainly need to work together to get. And because this body has not ever empowered an organization like ours to help collect this data, is then a catch-22. We've done plenty of pilot programs around doing something to collect data, but I don't think it's fair to ask us, about the data of what it would look like for such a program to exist when such a program has never ever been in operation. And so I think I would invite you to think about that a little bit, and look at this as an opportunity to do a pilot program. We've certainly done hundreds of pilot programs in our time, to evaluate how something would work, and then to collect data. So that's how I would look at this, as this opportunity for us to investigate what this looks like. And again, there are many more things you mentioned, but out of respect of time, I'll yield for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Valentine.
You're muted.
Valentine, you're muted if you're speaking.
Oh, sorry about that, Chair.
All right.
Mr. Broderick, thank you for your presentation here today, and shining a light on the importance of small businesses, especially that of Black businesses, which essentially collectively are the engine of our local economy. And so Black businesses certainly are essential to the local ecosystem as you have described here today. But in the best interest of time, I just want to highlight that currently your contract is for specifically workforce development, and it sounds like you want to expand more into economic development. And so I think it would be a good idea if you got the list of your partners who are actually operating in that space to us. That would be important, at least for me, to be able to evaluate people who are already operating in that space. And you express the need to have access to tools. And so some of those things have been talked about, but is there any other access to tools that you'd like to highlight for us?
No, I think again, it's a continuum of tools around recruitment and retention. In the business community that that are many. But broadly speaking, I think recruitment and retention tools around how we market Durham. I think some of the partners that are here locally play a role in that, and I think that we could be a better we could be of service to them as a contracted partner, like I discovered Durham, if you will, how we market Durham as a destination for tourism, right? The kind of Black businesses we're helping to recruit here, the kind of small businesses we're helping to recruit here. Um, you know, um, um, there are opportunities. There are businesses in other places like in New Orleans or Washington, D.C. That are expanding. There's a business called Cocktails and Kitchen and Cocktails that's been really expanding, and we've had several conversations with them. They're in Miami, and they're in DC. And they've looked at Durham as a space, but again, without the proper work orders, if you will, to engage in that work, it becomes very, very difficult. And those kind of projects, they are part of the continuum of how we do business here. But I don't think they need to be relegated to the small business, the city to do it in one way and the county in one way. I think there's an opportunity to do it all together.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Well, I appreciate this presentation. CJ, I'm going to be reaching out to you to try to connect to have a coffee or something. I do have questions, the numbers that you presented. The things I'd be interested in is understanding what your goals were for those years and what that means. So like the number, for example, you said like 152 on something. Did you achieve the goal? Did you
Yeah.
over or did you
We
not achieve those kinds of things?
we
But
we exceeded our goals in
yeah,
every capacity. We've exceeded
okay.
our goals.
Okay,
So
thank you. But yeah,
yeah,
I'm gonna reach out to you. We'll set some time and we'll be able to do that, chat through that kind of thing. All right. Thank you so
absolutely.
much for your presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The last item on our agenda is a legislative goals update in preparation for General Assembly short session. Manager Hager.
Sorry, we will have an update from Deborah Craig Ray, our Chief Communications Officer, about the preparation for the short session. And as you know, this General Assembly will be vetting many key areas, and there are opportunities for us to present new local bills. And in light of this environment, having those conversations now will help us as we work with our delegation. So Deborah, I'll turn it all over to you.
Good morning, Chair Lee, board members, and Manager Hager and others. I apologize about my camera. It doesn't seem to be working this morning. And I'll try to keep to my time, Chair Lee. First of all, I'd like to say that as you know, we have had a very challenging General Assembly session this time. Not a whole lot of policy has gone on, and certainly we remain the only state in the union without a budget. And so that is sort of the overview of where we are. Recently, I had a conversation with our lobbyists from McGuire Woods, and we talked frankly about what might be expected during this incoming session. And so I'll have some information about that. But I did want to just draw your attention to the handout that I shared, where I noted the local legislative goals that had been approved by our board and the current status of those. And where something was introduced, I noted that, and then, of course, the current status of the bill. And there were only a handful, as you can see. In my conversation with Johnny Tillett and Amanda Falconberry, our lobbyists, they recommended prioritizing a few things, and I will just read that from my notes if you don't mind. The first item that's on the list is about data privacy for youth. And so what they tried to work on with that is to pursue a statewide standard drafted by the legislative analysts, and that bill was actually introduced by Senator Chitlick. And all we wanted to do was just to get Durham County added to it. So it was very simple from our standpoint, but again, we had some challenges, but that is going to be a priority for our lawmakers and our lobbyists. The other bill that they emphasized was Senate Bill 281, Essential Relief for Child Care Act. Now, key components are being advanced in other legislation, they say, including the budget. So the expectation is that after the primary session would consider conversations about the budget, and we may have more to hear about, and we may get closer to passing a budget, but that certainly is a little ways off. And finally, monitoring items. They are going to be continuing to monitor the meetings of the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reduction and Reform, as well as any developments related to the repeal or partial repeal of the downzoning law that you recall was passed in 2024. So again, those are some of the priorities that we'll be working on with McGuire Woods. The other thing I will note that this is a time, if you have some other local concerns, local bills that you would like to consider, now is the time to discuss those. And he also emphasized we want to stay away from bills involving revenue and lean more toward advancing bills that would involve a policy. And again, that continues the tone that we heard in previous meetings. And I see some hands.
Absolutely. I have Commissioner Burton first, and then I'll have Commissioner Alum.
All right, thank you. So one of my concerns, or something that I know we all are wanting, is we are wanting teachers, school-based employees, state employees paid more money. And I am wanting something, and I know all of us do, are wanting something moved around that, because as a county, it's becoming more challenging for us to keep up with those costs, particularly trying to get school-based workers, employees to a living wage. And it's going to be difficult for us as a county to do it on our own. And moving our legislature to fund public schools and make sure that these valuable workers are getting paid a living wage. And I know that is something that is being felt across the state. I know there's discussion in Mecklenburg County around this, but I really want our lobbyists to have these conversations, because I really think, I don't think I know, it's just really paramount for us to keep that moving and keeping that in the forefront of our legislature. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And you are absolutely correct. That is definitely a priority across the board. All of our counties, the County Commissioners Association, it's a priority. We've obviously had conversations with our great Durham lawmakers. They are definitely on board. But again, The issue is we've got to get this budget through. And until the leadership on the House and the Senate side come together, because really the issue is those two sides are far apart in budget discussions, if you have kept up with the conversations. And so we're really fighting serious challenge right now with the budget. But thank you. Absolutely, I agree.
Commissioner Long.
I was pulling up my notes. Sorry, I'm scrolling to find the star log. Okay, so one of the things, and I know Deborah, you started off with the disclaimer to avoid budget-related finance questions, which you're probably going to get from us all budget-related finance questions. But one, I just wanted to re-up. I know we've had some conversations, and Wendy and I, as well as probably Chair Dr. Lee, have been in from our transit conversations that we all sit in, conversations around transit tax. And I know Commissioner Valentine, you and I have talked about this as well, for the city to explore having their own transit tax dollars to address their maintenance costs and facility upkeep needs, that so that way Durham County's transit tax dollars are able to stay focused on the larger scale projects like bus rapid transit. And so if we can see, and I know Doug Pachensky from TPO is also interested in these conversations, if we can bring that as a priority to our delegation, that is not just for Durham County, but the city as well as our transit partners in the region. Another thing that we've talked about, and to the item that Commissioner Burton had, I'm glad that she had us have a presentation on a few work sessions ago, or last work session, about the family reunification processes and just around our court systems in general. If we, and again, this is more budget, but like get advocating for our state legislature, state legislature to put more resources statewide into our judicial systems to help all of 100 county courts get through their backlog, and improving the state systems to avoid delays and the ways that it's costing counties more money when we have these delays, and actually causing an increase in the population of our jails when people are not able to go through their trial process and are having to stay in the jail for longer periods of time, and how that's impacting cost to counties as well as the human aspect of that. Also, and I know this is like this, I know the realm of the state legislature we're working with, but how we can implement more clean energy tax incentives at the local level. I know this was something that we had gone through and we almost got passed at the legislative conference, NCACC legislative conference, like, what was that, Wendy? Like 22, 23 legislative goals conference. If we can revisit that, because I think we almost got it passed, but it failed like by 2 votes at the Legislative Goals Conference. So trying to bring that back up, of like, since it is something that Republican commissioners are also interested in as well.
Okay, and thank you. Those are very good suggestions, and certainly we will work on that. But I will note that for this time, we are needing to focus on Durham County specific goals, and we will have to hold statewide goals for our process as we start planning for 27, which will probably be early summer. But I am making notes, and we will make sure that we bring these up when we have those conversations. But very good goals.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Lum. Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. Thank you, as always, Deborah, for keeping on top of everything. And I'm really grateful to our statewide lobbyists for their work. Just to kind of pile on with what other commissioners have said, I think it's the conversation around the committee looking at property tax is very concerning. I want to thank Commissioner Burton for her editorial in the Indy about this and educating the greater Durham community. I think it's really important for our residents to understand the pressure that has been put on our local county property tax directly because we are not getting adequate support from the state government for paying our teachers, for school repairs, maintenance, and new construction. And so if the state legislature literally comes and takes away our local taxing authority, then we will not be able to meet the basic local needs that we have as a county. And so, these issues are all tied together. And I think, Deborah, it's going to be really important. I know this is going to be a top priority for the North Carolina Association of
Yes.
County Commissioners. And
Yes.
so that we are working, hand in glove with them and our lobbyists so that we can make the case about the serious problems that could result for every single county and every single Durham resident. We're already having a problem with, and I think this is a lot of the fight right now between the House and the Senate, Republican controlled, is because the way that they're capping the corporate taxes, we're going to have revenue shortfalls. And so these are the bigger issues and they're complicated, and we have to keep working at educating our community members about the source of the problems. And I feel and hear it when we have residents who are really suffering under the property tax, but there are reasons for it that are beyond our control right now. And to Commissioner Burton's point also about teacher salaries, I believe we're now 48th, people please correct me, in the United States.
I think you're right.
What is that, Commissioner Burton?
50th.
50th.
So we're 50, okay.
50th. So here we are, literally at the bottom of all
And
of
no budget.
And no budget. And it is truly a crisis. I do want to also to follow up on Commissioner Lom's point around transportation and transit funding. Again, same issue. We don't have enough money. I do want to say that I support us trying to follow up on the model that has already been approved, which is what was approved for Mecklenburg County and Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. I think that it's important that we try to follow up on what the General Assembly has already approved, and which is following the model that we have for our existing transit tax. And so I think we'll be most successful if we are following that model as well as working with Campo. So if our lobbyists, if we can get folks together, Deborah, with Triangle West TPO, Campo, which is, Wake County and beyond, and Raleigh, and then with, our MPO to, I think we'll be most successful, which is the 1 cent sales tax increase, but it is a different structure than our existing 0.5% sales tax. It's a different structure. And I hope that would help us be successful because we don't have enough money for our transit and transportation needs in Durham. And then the last two other things. One is the Falls Lake rules. We can continue this conversation offline, Deborah, but this is happening right now with the Upper Neuse River Basin Association, and we're going to need our lobbyists to get involved. It's very consequential for the future growth of Durham County and the city of Durham if we don't get fair and reasonable rules approved. It could have a detrimental effect on the future of Durham. So I want to make sure that our lobbyist gets pulled into that. I am serving as chair of the UNRBA. Also the SNAP funding. We haven't resolved around the administrative cost burden for counties. And I think that's something else that is a statewide issue, but and also has a great impact on Durham County and every single DSS, that these new rules are going to be such a big burden to administer and are a waste of money, but we need the state to be helping us with that administrative cost. So I do want to lift that up as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just remind you that we do have a meeting set up on April 17th with our lawmakers to just go over strategy for the upcoming session. And of course, we're communicating with them on a regular basis anyway. Thank you.
All right, and then Commissioner Valentine.
Chair, I realize that I'm in the middle of us adjourning here, so I'll be very
You're
brief.
fine. You're fine. Take your time.
So I'd like to lend my support to us following the Mecklenburg transit tax model. I've talked with Commissioner Lam and Commissioner Jacobs about this issue, and I think that we should be communicating to our lobbyists to talk to those who were able to get this across the finish line in Mecklenburg County, so that Durham County can meet its needs in that regard. Also, just a question for Craig Lee or Craig Lee. Deborah Craig Ray, sorry, Craig Lee. Deborah Craig Ray. With regard to local bills and additional priorities, yeah, you had mentioned the time is now, but if you can give me a time frame for any of those sorts of actions out to the future, because I know that we meet with the delegation, if my mind serves me well, sometime in late March or April.
It's April 17th.
April 17th. Okay, good.
And I apologize, I don't have the local bill deadline on me right now, but your board would need to approve anything that we would carry forward at the next meeting, or certainly the one after that, so that I could communicate it to the lawmakers.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, in the last legislative session, I know that Representative Vernita Austin had continued her efforts to try to carve out an authority for local schools, meaning Durham Public Schools, to be able to work with the county with respect to housing for our teachers. And so if we can get an update on that, I would really appreciate that.
Actually, I did have a conversation with her staff earlier, before the weather, I'm sorry. The question was around, it was something I needed to speak to the manager about. I had talked to our attorney and he suggested that I speak to the manager. And so I need to work with Manager Hager to get you an answer, sir.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Chair, that
All right.
concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments we want to consider? All right, I think everyone has contributed their comments, Deborah. So we appreciate your presentation, appreciate your information. And that was our last item on our agenda for this work session today. If there's not anything else from any of the commissioners or Manager Hager, I will consider us adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.